Southall's Gurdwaras aren't just bricks and mortar, they're the beating heartbeat of one of the UK's largest and oldest Sikh communities. And with elections just around the corner, what happens next will affect its future. But before we get into that, let me introduce you to today's guests. From left to right, we have Harmeet Singh Gill, the current General Secretary of Sri Guru Singh Sabha Southall. Next to him, we have Gursimran Singh, who invited me here today and is standing with the Panthik Party. And finally, Devinder Singh, our host, who kindly let us record in his house, a former member of a number of committees and is also contesting with the Panthik Party. Now, let me explain why I'm here. I don't have a stake in who wins, I live about 100 miles away, and quite honestly, I don't care. But that's exactly why I'm here. To step in as an outsider, ask 20 questions that matter, and cut through the rumours. But really, it all comes down to three things: the history that shaped this institution from the 1950s up until today, the truth behind the politics, mudslinging and rumours, and finally, what these elections mean for the next generation. Let's start with introductions. Could each of you share who you are and the role you play?
I'm Harmeet Singh Gill. I'm currently General Secretary of Singh Sabha Southall. Been involved with the Gurdwara formally as trustee since 2017. Of course, Southall was my home. I grew up here. From a young age, parents used to bring us to the old Havelock Road, now the new Havelock Road, and it's been part of daily life all my life, as far as I can go back. Outside the Gurdwara, I work as a CFO for a tech startup company.
Wow, okay.
So that's my actual full-time role, and this is my full-time seva.
How do you even find time between life to even get involved in the Gurdwara?
It's incredibly difficult. The role I'm in means it is a full-time role. You have to be giving 8, 9, 10 hours a day on top of your day's job, on top of kids, on top of family. So it takes its toll. It's not easy, but we're doing it so we can leave the Gurdwara in a stronger place than we inherited it.
What keeps you from going, you know what, this is I don't need the hassle, this is too much, this is a pain in the neck, I'm out?
Having kids and thinking, right, what kind of Gurdwara do I want them to go into? Yeah. Now, when we were growing up, it was different. Our parents could literally grab us by the ear and literally drag.
Yeah.
I've got memories of those moments where I don't want to go, but they took us.
Yep.
And I'm totally grateful they did. Yeah. But we can't do that with our kids. Not this generation.
No,
they've got to have a kit. They've got to have a pool that makes them want to come to the Gurdwara. And who else can do that? The elder generation did a fantastic job, but they can't now do the same thing for the next gen. That's got to be our role. It's our responsibility. Create that Gurdwara where the kids themselves are like, Mom, Dad, want to go to the Gurdwara. And it might be class or a function or a program just to go see their friend there, but getting them there, the first step. And then hopefully they then have the same experience as we did growing up, because we used to love being there. When your friends were there, everyone's got those fond memories, and that's what's keeping us going back.
I guess in some ways, and I share some of the experiences with yourself about growing up and the roles that Gurdwara has played. Considering you guys are now, you're involved in the community currently, and you could potentially be part of the future community. How much, and I know we're going a little bit off on a tangent, it now seems that the Gurdwaras are taking on more and more responsibility that the state used to take on. And how have you guys managed that?
That's definitely the case. I think we step back, purpose of a Gurdwara. So at the core, the Dharmic function, everyone's clear as day on what that is. But they also are hubs of the community. Yeah. And so they fulfill all those other needs that society, the state, families, individuals can't do. And that's always been the case. It's not a new phenomenon, right? Going back in time, why was it always created? When towns were established, they were sources of water for the towns. Those communities could grow. Now today, we don't need those per se, but the equivalent of that is being able to fulfill the needs of today's generation. So kids need help with tutoring. They need help with UCAT applications, yes. Whether it's extracurricular stuff. So anything that uplifts our comms, our bunts children, it's our duty collectively to do. The best forum we've got to do that is our Gurdwara. Because we've got these great physical places, we've got access to resources, and actually it ties in nicely with the concept of seva. Now, seva, it's doing the Dora Guide, it's doing the langar, but actually, if you're someone who can tutor kids, it's much better for you to use that skill you've got as seva to educate the next generation. If you can get the next gen passing their 11 pluses, doing good in GCSEs, you're setting them up for life.
Yep.
And then the cycle reverses itself. They come back and they're making it back to the community. Now, we're not going to do that for our own. No one else is. The state's only going to do the bare minimum.
Yes.
And we know it's can always be underfunded. Yeah. So the role then falls back on to us. And we got to start with our own community first.
I think I just love the fact that you said UCAS applications, because I remember how much of a pain it was to go through that whole process and the amount of help that wasn't there. But if I had someone who looked like me, understood my background, my cultural kind of sensitivities, and everything else that goes with there, and was like, all right, yeah, I'll help you do this, that would have been a game changer.
The thing is, if you think about it, so all of us are parents at some point have come from Punjab, maybe by Africa, maybe by Singapore, etc. So at some point we were all first gen kids in this country. We don't know the system. My parents didn't go to university. They don't know how the UK system worked. They don't know how the healthcare system worked. And all right, they worked, struggles, got through it. But if we can now use the skills of the generation ahead of us to empower and uplift the generation here now, what better way to have collective be off the calm? So the UCAS thing is just a small example, right? We've got people now very well educated, good careers, good jobs. So the best way, again, they can get back to the community is to get the next gen on the same path as them. Yeah. If you're a parent who's just come over from a job, your kids are going through GCSEs, don't even know what to advise them.
Yes.
The decisions parents make at a young age, what school the kid goes to, what GCSEs they pick, what A-levels they do, it has a massive impact. It's butterfly effect.
Yep.
You realize when it's too late. If I had better advice when I was raising my kids, they could be in a different position today. And the Gurdwara is so unique like that because it's a place people have trust. There's a physical place where people come together, and you can literally transform people's lives spiritually, but then actually in all these small, tangible ways. And you're effectively creating the leaders of tomorrow through the Gurdwara.
No, definitely. I guess we've focused on the Gurdwara right now, but just kind of moving back and looking at its history. What is the history of the Gurdwara? Where did it arise? Like, how did it come together? Why are there two sides? Because that blew my mind when I think you explained to me that it's one Gurdwara in two physical locations. And what I guess also has been happening in the last 5-10 years in terms of context.
Yeah. So history of Gurdwara in Southall goes back to the early 20th century.
Yeah.
So first Sikhs officially documented about the 1920s. They led on the electoral roll. Of course, like most towns, cities at the time, they'd come over from mainly India, Punjab, other Commonwealth countries. They come over to work. Fast forward, especially after World War 40s, 50s, you've got a big influx of Punjabi Sikhs from Punjab and also former colonies like Singapore.
Yeah.
So they come over, they're working, they're leading 15, 20, 30 people to a house, worship 24/7, right? Evening, the same people going to work in the day and night shift are coming back to the same house. And then, of course, it's incredible if you think about the struggles they would face at the time, but they never left the dam. They made sure they still did Sangat. They used to hire halls, they used to hire houses to carry on doing Gavans. So the early days was about hiring small houses or there's a place called Shackleton Hall.
Yeah.
And as the community grew, and at the time, around the only Gurdwara in London, or even in the UK, would have been Shepherd Bush. Yeah, the current Queensdale, the old Sinclair.
Yeah.
So they used to go there. But of course, as the population in Southall grows, they collectively decide, right, we need somewhere of our own in this town. So they start by renting a place called Shackleton Hall. Then they purchased a small house called Beaconsfield Road in the 60s, which is still within summer. So 45 years later, it's still part of the suburb. Today we use it to house our grantees and visiting ruggies. Then a few years later, they buy a site called Brook Green. That was the first. That was then the next Gurdwara. Again, that site still within the Gurdwara charity today. And then opportunity arose to buy what was then known as Halbrook Road. So that's called Gurnana Road. Yes, it was late 60s. So that was an old milk dairy. They used to deliver milk to all the local towns in the old glass pint bottles. And actually, a lot of their customers were Sikhs. And so when the opportunity arose to buy it, the Sikhs, one of the main saleabouts at the time was Gurbajan Singh Gill, who actually owned the first corner shop in Southall. So Joe Crosner, and he had helped a lot of the families when they first come over, finding somewhere to live, maybe giving them food. They couldn't afford it. So he was fairly well off at the time, and community went to him. He had good relationships in the banking sector. And then when the Havelock Road site's available, he spoke to the owner, who said, "Look, I've got serious offers. The only way it's going to go to you if you're going to be the first one to pay for it." And he said, "Look, most of your customers are Sikhs. Most of our community buys a couple of pints, whereas the non-Sikh community is only buying the half pint." So a bit of arm twisting. He then worked with the community at the time. They raised the funds, managed to secure the Havelock Road site, which, if most of us have got distant childhood memories of it.
My daughter got married at that Gurdwara, but even I have memories of that Gurdwara, and I'm not local.
And the beauty of Southall was, like, a lot of families who are now across the UK, they probably started their life at Southall. They stayed in
or as a relative or something.
and so everyone's still got that connection back to Southall. Yeah, wherever you're in the country. Either it's because you landed at Heathrow. If you came on a ship, you're going back 4 or 5 generations, you would have probably docked in East London, Aldgate, slowly made your way around, got to West London. And one of the things that drew people to West London was actually, there used to be a tyre factory. One of the managers there was an ex-army officer who'd served in India and in Punjab. So he was familiar with Sikhs and Punjabis. He knew what they're kind of like, what the nature's like, hardworking, integrity, honesty. And so when they needed workers, he knew.
Let's go for Punjabis.
Yeah. So it's probably safe to say, because of that one chat, we ended up with a massive Punjabi Sikh community in Southall because he offered employment, and that just attracted more and more people. Oh, well, it's still a random town.
I have always wondered why Southall could, like, why
that probably was the trigger, right? Employment. That one factory and that one guy who'd served in India had seen what the Sikhs are about, and look, fast forward 50, 60 years, this is why there's so many of the Southall today. So that really is the butterfly effect in action. So 60s, we've got Havelock Road, Gurdwara, community continues to grow, thrive, and at the time, the Gurdwara was again the hub of the community. The men would work as the women started coming over from Punjab and India. They're getting married, having families. They're raising the families, and of course, the Gurdwara was pure random seva. Yeah, all the kant parts were done by just average Sangha members. The whole concept of how they run today was very different back then. Not to say that there isn't as much Sangha Bhavana today. It was just different.
Yes,
the way everything was organized was very different, and of course, it made sense. You're a very small, tight-knit community. You're facing the challenges of racism. You're trying to get your kids into employment, into schools. It was a tough time. The 70s had its own challenges, far right. And Singh Sabha was at the center of those movements as well.
Southall
Rights, exactly. And so the organization used to happen with the Gurdwara and other organizations have done. And of course, because that site wasn't purpose-built, it was ad hoc buildings.
So was it literally they just took over the dairy?
Took over the dairy.
So as in there was no renovation. It was kind of where they rip out the inside. Let's do it.
More or less. Add on your bolt-on extension. They do, right? You remember the
porter cabin.
More or less. The car parks full of these porter cabin type structures. You have the main Gurdwara building, the langar halls, attachments, and Shita parking. It was great.
That's what makes the fun of it, though, right? You're building it. There's a community there.
Exactly. And the focus wasn't the structured building. It was about what's happening.
Yes, that's the key for, right? Yeah.
And what's actually cool is, just to interject, is we were doing a bit of work on the history on the website, and we found online, you can go on like H images and edit. We found a lot of stock images. We went back in time and we found there was a bunch of protests that happened. There were a bunch of photographers who came to the Gurdwara. There's a lot of old archive pictures that we'll show you all that we can see. And when we posted online, there were so many people who you probably would never find commenting, or even for years, but they will comment, I remember this, I used to go to my grandma, I remember that shares. They could see parts of that.
And they're a particular generation, though, so a lot of that is good, like, it's moved on for them.
Yeah. So the pictures of the langar hall and the Gurdwara really brought back a lot of memories for people, which is really cool.
You have to remember, like, Southall back then, there were areas of Southall, like Norwood Green, it was quite an affluent area relative to the other part of Southall, and the residents there were all white. They had made an active policy: we are not going to sell our homes to brown people.
Yeah,
that's the level of hostility and segregation. But that was normal for the time. It wasn't right, but it was just normal across the country. And in the South, where we had a big influx, the dynamics of the town were changing. So the struggles were there, and the Gurdwara was always at the forefront of battling those. So then we fast forward, Gurdwara's running. There was always, I think, plans, let's build a purpose-built Gurdwara, we need better facility. Yeah, but it's only going to happen when the sort of stars align, right? When you've got the finances, you've got the vision, you've got a strong leadership team who can actually develop and deliver it. And people have talked about it for years. And then I think it's in the 80s, 84, when the current Park Avenue site comes on the market. Now, it's a prominent site right on the corner next to the station, which is the heart of Southall now. And the elders then, when it comes to the market, they're like, "Well, you've got to get this security for the community." I think there was an element of, if we don't, other particular communities might get it.
Yeah,
might impact our community. There's always an issue around particular faiths that was grooming, and and so I think there's an element of that. And there's also the community is growing. We're going to need more facilities, and if we really do want to develop Havelock Road, as it was known then, we're going to need somewhere to carry on the Gurdwara.
So why I see.
So it was, I think one of the intention was always is we'll decamp to Park Avenue, while it would develop Havelock, and then we'll move back there eventually. But because the community grew so rapidly and so fast that actually even 2 Gurdwara weren't enough. So they bought that Gurdwara. It was April 1984.
And that was a car carriage, wasn't it?
That was it was actually a supermarket and at some point a car garage.
We got pictures of those as well.
It looked like it'd be a supermarket, considering it's like just basically a rectangle, isn't it?
Exactly. But actually, so it was. We still remember. I think we all got memories of the car park was actually on the roof of the Gurdwara. So the back was a ramp, and it go right up from the car park on the ground floor all the way to the top. So cars would go into the car park all the way to the top.
Oh, buffer.
It's a solid concrete.
And they locked that down last year.
So the ramp was removed and renovated, and then it was just turned into one rectangular building, probably in the 90s some point. Oh, wow. But I think everyone still remembers that ramp, right? As kids, we used to go upstairs and roll things down the ramp. It's the standard things you do as kids. So the plan was always, I think, to decamp to Park Avenue, develop Havelock Road, but that never happened. I think the community kept growing. I think in the 90s, so the mid-90s onwards, when really there was a lot of traction to now develop the Havelock Road site into a purpose-built Gurdwara. So work started then. That was under Hima Singh Sohi, who got involved, I think, in 93, and then all the way up to 2003 when Havelock Road actually opened. So it was Prince Charles, as he was then, who came and did the formal opening ceremony. But even the opening was an amazing event. So from Park Avenue, the Maharaj Sarup carried them on a buggy by foot with the marching band. The Queen's Band actually came down. Oh, awesome! Park Avenue all the way to Havelock Road. That's when Maharaj first went over there, and then that was the first Prakash Havelock Road Gurdwara in 2003. So some great footage there, and I think a lot of people. I mean, it's 22 years ago, but that's almost a generation ago. Like.
Yeah, makes me feel old too. Okay, that puts a lot of context and a lot of history and sense into just the context of the Gurdwaras and the community. I guess then moving on to the political parties. So some of these I don't think exist anymore or whatever, and I'm sure you guys will enlighten me. So the Shir, Baj, Tere Panth Fase, and now Panthik, right? So are there 4 that exist?
Well, at the moment, the current election is only going to be contested by 2 groups. So the group and the shared group. Actually, we rewind in history. So yes, for the moment the Gurdwara are established, you've got to have a system to manage.
Yeah.
When you're setting it off, it's very different, right? Everyone's mindset is very different. Let's work together. Let's get it off the ground. Let's buy the building. Let's turn it into a Gurdwara. Let's renovate it and then run it. As the community grows, so do the divisions. It's natural. It's more, right? It's human instinct. People have disagreements. But actually, there's actually a really interesting and pivotal moment. So the first communities in Southall were those who actually originated, who come directly from Punjab, and then there's another group to come from Singapore. So they were running separate divans, had separate sites, renting different halls. But at some point, I think it's in the late 50s, early 60s, they actually merged It's incredible. So, you talk about today, we're always divided, and together. Look at this moment in that period of time, the two communities, they're both Sikhs, they're both from different parts of the world. They realize, okay, let's work together. Let's buy Havelock Road, run it together jointly. And as the division melts away, today no one realizes that, no one remembers that. All they see today is City Good things over Southall, but they don't realize actually the foundations were two different groups coming together. Wow. They could achieve a lot more together and they could separately. Obviously, on the point of inception till now, you've got to find a way to run the Gurdwara, and we've had the committee system. Yeah. You can hate it, knock it as much as you want.
That's all they have.
You've got to have it. Someone's got to run it. You've got to have a structure in place. Now, if you've got a community-led organization, those who run it are going to come from the community. So you've got to find a way of how you appoint them. You can do a party, you can draw straws, you can have elections. Because you're living in the UK, because these are registered as charities, you're going to have things that are officially recognised or permitted. The reality is, and it's unfortunate, but it's also probably no alternative, is when there are disputes, that's when rules get made. So often, not just saying Southall Southall, most Gurdwara have probably ended up with constitutions and rules that have been imposed on them because of disputes. So one side's gone to court, they're doing this, so then judges ultimately say, well, you know what, we're going to write the constitution for you, and you've got to follow it like this. And that's actually the constitutional history of most Gurdwara is there's been a dispute, people have gone to court, and then a judge somewhere has made a rule right. You're going to have elections like this on this day of the month, and this is how it's going to happen. And that's really how then the parties form, right? Because that divisions, I think that Tisivani, I think that Nakarna, we're going to sell our own group. And so we've had those periods in our time. A lot of the people standing today have worked with other groups in the past.
Yeah.
There's been disagreement, and it's normal.
Yeah,
That's how the law works. That's what politics is. Politics is it's a battle of ideas. Some folks want to run the Gurdwara in a particular way. They don't want to do particular things. Others want to do it in a different way. And they don't like elections. It costs money. It creates division.
but there's no alternative.
Yeah, everyone's tried it. South has had its history. It's tried the bunch system. It's tried the budget system. It failed. It went back to court. So the problem is, as great as it sounds,
The
practicality of it means is if you don't agree with how it's happened, someone challenges it, the court of the land is going to say, well, I'm sorry, we need to have a different way to do it.
Yeah.
This is the right way to do it.
Okay. Then in terms of the two parties that are contesting this election, what are their main differences? Like, what is the kind of like, if I vote for one, what do I get that the other one's not giving me? Yeah.
So we're line and part of the Buntik group.
Yeah.
We came out of really the other groups. We all set back, and our elders are really the visionaries of this. I said, look, we're getting old now. We're going to keep fighting like this all our lives. What is the point of it?
What is
there to gain from having rivalry in a Gurdwara? Nothing. And if they don't set an example now, whenever there be a chance for people to work together. So the Buntik group really came around from all the groups, the Jathibandiya, actually saying, right, let's just work collectively under one banner in the best interest of the suburb. Now, there's always going to be people who are like, no, we don't want part of it. And sadly, there's always who said no. So we had to then have the elections in 2022 when there wasn't a need. We could have done it collectively. So we ended up with Buntik and Share at the time. And today, again, it's the same two groups contesting the elections. But the difference now is actually we've got a vision. We really understood why we're here. And really, they captured greatly in the manifesto we're putting together now. We've got 6 key pledges and everything comes under that. The focus is on educating and inspiring the next generation. If we don't, who will? Of course, the Gurdwara, the core of it is Dharm Prachar. So obviously, strengthen Prachar and Sikh studies. And those are the basics. You've got time with the weddings, but it's done to a level that continues to draw in more Sangat. Going back to the point of Gurdwara do more than just Dharm Prachar. So supporting families, right? Protecting the vulnerable, championing health, well-being, and quality. It's actually giving people the guidance, advice, and help they need. Delivering those visionary projects, which we've done, right? Working with Oxford University, working with the NHS, working with Imperial Trust to do these remarkable things that only Gurdwara can do, others can't. And then key, is actually doing it in a transparent, accountable way so that people are actually proud. They want to donate to the Gurdwara. They want to be affiliated with the Gurdwara. They want to do projects under the Gurdwara's label, not anything else.
Which kind of brings me on nicely to my next question, which is I was looking at your manifesto's key wins, and again, like I may just quote this incorrectly. Apparently, close to 5 million in donations, safeguarding reforms, and over 45,000 health checks, which I think in itself is quite a big achievement. But what do you guys count as your biggest achievements, and why in the last however long you guys have been in?
So I got involved with Gurdwara in 2017, and I was one of, I think, 2 or 3 youth. Yes, youth. I'm only 35 still, so I still count myself as young nearby. But looking back, the main thing is actually you've been able to inspire the next generation to get involved, because succession planning has been absent in all our Sikh institutions, and that's a fundamental problem. Is if you're not getting your next gen ready, trained, experienced, and actually giving them the will themselves to want to get involved, what's going to happen down the road? So that's probably the key thing, is that we managed to inspire the next generation to get involved with the Gurdwara. It used to be easy to say, but you don't Gurdwara. Come to Singh Sabha, I'll tell you what, the amount of youngsters, and I mean not just those come from Punjab, I mean the ones who are second, third, fourth generation, ones, they are reconnecting with the Gurdwara through everything we're offering. People now have got kids themselves. They're thinking, well, yeah, my kids are going to love those classes. They're going to come to the Gurdwara. There's an excuse for them to come and do Mathatek and say in the Diwan as well. Otherwise, it wasn't there.
Where's the pull?
Exactly. And the pull has been as a result of all these other things that we're doing. In that, the health study that you just mentioned, that's a remarkable piece of work. So, the Gurdwara partnered with something called the South Asia Biobank Study, which was not the UK's, but the world's biggest longitudinal health study of South Asians. So the Wellcome Trust, which is the UK's biggest endowment fund, they provided funding to Imperial College London to figure out, right, why do South Asians, always say South Asians, Indians, Bangladeshis, Pakistanis, Sri Lankan, why do we suffer the traits that we do? Obesity, diabetes. We can laugh and joke, but as you know,
Food is
we say it's on food. We can say it's our lifestyles, lack of exercise. It's going to be an element of genetics as well. Yeah. But until someone does a study,
how do we know? How do we know? Yeah, what's the
sign? How do you find the cures and how do you improve people's lives, right? It's a remarkable piece of work which is literally going to save the lives of millions of people from not just our community, but from across the subcontinent. So in COVID, they were doing so prior to COVID, they're doing the studies in hospitals. So it was, doing health tests, blood tests, questionnaires, lifestyle questionnaires. But COVID hits, so they can't do that anymore. So they ask us, they go, look, you guys have got this great facility at Nord Hall, which is another site that the sub owns. Okay. It also is where our Khalsa Primary School operates out of. So we have this great Grade 2 listed building, which was free at the time. What's a snowball? So they asked,
so yes, it's available.
It's available to use. Yeah. And so the guys behind the study said, look, do you mind if we work with you guys to do the studies here? We'll invite people from across Southeast England, free of charge. Anyone can come in and get a free health assessment done. And these assessments are like those ones you get done from Bupa or Vitality. So if you're private health, you know what I mean? You go and do these health assessments and you get like a 60-page report.
Yeah.
It gives you all your stats, what it means, how it can improve. So it's an incredible thing they were doing for free to the Sangha. But look at the beauty of it. They said, look, you've got the funding from Wellcome Trust to do the work, as you pay for the nurses, the doctors, the equipment, all the rest of it. But they haven't given us the money to actually pay rent for a site because we were planning to do it in hospitals and the funding's just not there.
Oh, okay.
So the guys behind the studies, they're again part of the community, the Sikhs, and they're quite prominent health specialists. And he said, look, obviously, I don't want to just use Gurdwara's site. It doesn't feel right. It's wrong. People say you're taking advantage of it. But what he said is, look, what I can do is I'll pay for the renovations for the entire site. Those renovations were like £250,300,000 worth. And again, when you're doing anything with a charity, we've always got to work under charities law.
Yes.
So Gurdwara as a charity can't just lease out a site free of charge.
Yep.
We've got to make sure we're getting the best value and it's fair. So we had a quantity surveyor comes in, he surveys the entire Northern facility, looks in the condition. Right, we had dry rot, we had damp, we had leaking roofs. The place had fallen into disrepair. And we worked out right the cost of what the renovations are going to cost, how much that site could be rented for if we were to rent it at commercial rate. You know, you do comparative study, you look about what office spaces go for in the area, and it worked out right. These guys need to use this site for 3 or 4 years. This is what the rental value will be. The renovation will cost this much. So actually, if they're going to pay for the renovations, it's going to generate more value for the seller. Plus, you're going to save potentially millions of lives from your community. And so that happens. So Biobank Study comes to Norwood Hall. They create employment, mainly from our own community. They test people, and speaking to them, they literally like, we used to have ambulances coming up every week because when we're doing people's blood tests or blood pressure or checking their heart, it's too high. They're sent them to the hospital straight away. Those guys are oblivious that they could potentially face serious health consequences immediately.
Oh yeah.
So they were literally saving lives day to day, and then long term, you're transforming people's lives. And the data they got was incredible. But so they were looking at levels of activities in women, say from Badar, levels of activities from women from Bangladesh, from Sri Lanka, because it was so minuscule, and they collected billions of data points now. Some of the stuff we knew, right? We knew our community is very inactive, especially over those over 56 years, and that causes a lot of the health problems they're facing. Diabetes, high blood pressure, arthritis, dementia, it's all linked. And now you can tell people, look, your average levels of activities are far less than the average for white people in the country. The only way you're going to get a better lifestyle, and we talk about lifespan and health span, is by changing the way you look after yourselves, the things you eat. And so literally the Gurdwara has been fundamental in saving people's lives. Incredible. And that was 45,000 people got tested through that at Singh Sabha for free. And just look at it, remarkable, right?
Insane.
You transform people's lives.
Yeah. And the knock-on effects of that and the benefits going down the line. Yeah.
And it leads to other projects. So we started working with Eden Council to set up a cycling hub at Park Avenue site. So Park Avenue site's one part of that space, and we've let out part of it to I think it's called Let's Go South, for give out free bicycles.
No.
And today you go there, guess who's cycling cycles to the Gurdwara? Auntie.
Yeah.
Auntie who never get on a bike, never get active, and are cycling to the Gurdwara. They're part of cycle clubs. They're getting fit, they're getting healthy, they're getting out of the house.
That's so cute. It's socializing. We're on the inner space that is not the Gurdwara or home.
Exactly. So and the Gurdwara now is transforming people's lives. This simple thing.
That's amazing. Yeah. Like that's actually like, as in I'm sure we'll talk a lot more and more information will come out, but out of everything, that's like the bit where you go, you know what? It's worth it. Like that type of impact to have, because just even that extra, I don't know, whether it's 20 minutes of exercise a week or per day or whatever it's going to be, it's going to make such a big difference to those people.
Like, what's sad is that you're getting to hear this information now through the conversation happening here.
I had no idea.
But overall, when it comes to social media, how information spreads, there's always the bad stuff. And yes, but I think, but an element of that is also the idea of sale, where sometimes the conversation the work just gets done. The conversation,
Yeah, I guess
it's just take for granted as well, isn't it?
I guess there's two things on that. First of all, I think you're completely right. When sale was done, we're very much, let's be humble and quiet about it and just do it. We move on. We don't need to tell anybody. Like, so for argument's sake, I think a good example of this is Beyond, who's like another kind of social media type person, rang me one day and was like, are you donating any of the proceeds from the shop to the Punjab floods? And I'll be honest with you, I find that whole idea really odd. I shouldn't have to say to people or post online saying, we're going to donate to Punjab floods if you buy from us.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, if you as a creative or a business can afford to, go for it.
Yeah.
That's it. And it shouldn't be about, well, I then need to tell everyone that I've done it. So we've given some money to the Punjab floods. I've not made it a thing of, well, if you buy something, we'll donate. We'll just done a one-off thing. I don't need to tell anyone. Similarly with this, we're just getting on with it because we know the benefits.
Yeah.
I guess one of the questions that I want to ask in relation to the upcoming election is, what are the kind of the stumbling blocks? What are the decision makers? So, for argument's sake, I'd never voted in a general election in my life, and I don't plan to. But the only way someone could mobilize me to vote is if it was something to do with the NHS. So if they were like, we're going to ban the NHS, I would automatically go out and vote to stop that happening, right? What is it with the Gurdwara that normally decides who wins the election? Or is it just simply kind of, I've got more family members than you, therefore I'm going to kind of influence the vote?
First, if we think of the structure of how it works. So first of all, you have to be a member of the Gurdwara first. So to become a member, there's a certain criteria. So you have to live in the local boroughs. You have to be a permanent resident. And then there's 2 types of members.
So I couldn't sign up and become
No, so unless you live within the local area.
Okay.
So could there's so many Gurdwara.
That's clever, because it obviously stops just the writing whole and like jump off.
Yeah, on your house, you could just have a group of people in your areas. Do you know what? Let's just change it. We don't like so and so. Or group, let's all go in.
And you don't live there, then everyone else goes, okay.
So as it stands, the constitution has a criteria. One of them that was recently amended was that you have to have singing and choring in name. Because in the past, loads of people have joined who didn't have that. So now it's sort of bringing them a little bit more so that we have more Sikh rather than just anyone who lives there. So those are all amendable within the constitution as such. But so you have 2 types of membership. You have the ordinary membership, which gives you a one-term membership access. So you pay £5, and then and up until the next election, you can vote and be part of the meetings. The other one is life membership. You pay 101, and then you have life forever. No matter where you go, no matter if you change your name or whatever happens, once you paid 101, that sticks with you.
If I leave the borough though?
Exactly.
Then it will continue just to carry on.
Okay. So the idea is that people may move out for family reasons, for whatever reason, business, or even just going travel.
Yeah.
Especially for those people who've been here for their whole lives, and they may go, we're just a couple miles out the back. They have the opportunity now to make a continue. And the other one also is that for over 65s, it's free. So they get automatic life membership, right? Yeah. So they get life membership for over 65s as well. So that's also implemented. So the idea is that there's a there's a certain window where just before elections, a couple months before, you have a 6-week window. You join up as a member. It's also a 5-week window, a few weeks before. And then after that, only those people who have signed up during that window or who have been life members before, they are the electorate. Cool. So, and then only, so it's very order defined finite group of people.
I mean, the background, I think, to that is probably at some point there was probably a legal dispute.
Yeah.
And then
that was like it.
Judge has written, right, this is going to be a catchment area.
Yeah.
You have the window. There's probably been a bit of tweaking over time. Yeah. It's probably not been great thought of, actually, is this the right way? What is a catchment area? Should it be bigger? Should it be smaller? Yes.
Should it be London or whatever in it? Yeah,
exactly.
So over time, there have been, as Abi said, so there was a start on how it was, and over time, there's been amended and been taken. And
but the single core thing you're saying is more.
Yeah, so those kind of constitutional changes can come in. That's all dependent on AGMs as well. So only those who are members, whether you are ordinary or life, can be a member to come in and actually take part in the AGM meetings. And then turn up and become.
So even the meetings themselves are controlled by default or the select. Okay, this is, like, in my opinion, I think these are really good things to have, because I know what Gurdwara meetings and committees can be when there's not these type of controls.
Yes.
In these structured an organisation, now, despite that, there's no secret. We've got a history where there has been disputes, problems.
Yeah.
Like having it, right? That's the unfortunate nature of Punjabi politics.
Yes. I would just argue that's just the nature of humans. Like, you're not going to agree on everything. But I think the skill that we, and I might get shot down for this, as a community lack, is the ability to agree to disagree. And I think if we brought that into the game, A, you wouldn't have all these stupid fights at the Gurdwara, but secondly, you'd actually progress a lot more.
So the membership system works so that now that you have the electorate, and then if you then want to compete to contest to be a member of the elections, you have to have been a member in the previous election. So if, for example, you live in Europe and you decide, okay, I want to become a member and I want to stand, you can't do that.
Can't do it.
So you want to have, so you have to have been part of the Gurdwara for at least a full term.
Okay.
So I've been a life member since 2017. So that's something that I made the decision back then for just, I just want to get it done, not have to come back again.
Yeah.
And then also in these last few months, I've now actually seen more and more. So I've been involved in Southall and doing various different bits. I've worked with the Gurdwara doing paid projects for a while as well with the tech and website stuff. But there's only these last 6 months where having been involved and seeing how the membership system works and all the different bits in between, where you realize that actually there are proper processes in place and we need to build better processes going forward. So there were days where And so there were systems in place where everything was done manual, paper only, whereas actually the membership system this time, everything was online. There was a robust Azure online system that was made. There were proper safeguarding procedures put in place. There's the complete audit system of, I guess, hundreds of thousands of logs. Every time somebody logs in, every time someone opens up a page, every time someone approves someone, you enter data. Everything is logged for everything. So it's completely auditable. It's being audited anyway. But we have a proper robust system now with AML checks done. Yep. So you might come in let's say, for example, you wanted to join and you change your address. You came with Derry, you made an address at my house and said, okay, let's go. You go on the AML system, it'll pop up as saying, this guy's got a brand new address. He's only been there for a few months. Or it would show that actually you've got 10 addresses up in the Midlands and only one here in London. So then we question you and say, okay, this is what's going on here, what's going on. So there are now those robust systems.
So it's professionally run, and it's basically run, I don't like to use the word like a business, but what I mean from that is it's run professionally as though you would run a business.
Yes.
So when you're saying audits, it makes me a bit nervous because we've got an ISO audit at the business I work for next month, and I have to prepare and get audited, and I absolutely hate it because they put their finger in every single little hole they can.
Yeah.
I guess the question with that is, do you guys ever get audited, or how do as in the system sound robust?
So how is someone check? Yes, there is an audit. There are different audits happening. Amazing. So the finance process.
Yeah, so any charity in the UK with more than £250,000 of donations a year has to, by law, get a statutory financial audit. Their financials get audited by a professional auditor who signs off that these figures are a true and fair reflection of what came in, what was spent, everything's presented properly, legally. Those accounts get filed with, in our case, the Charity Commission after the end of each financial year. They're open, the public documents.
Yeah.
That's like the bare minimum. But outside that, right, we realise now this is the Sanghat's money, it's the Guru's money. We've been entrusted to run it on behalf of the Sanghat in the best interest of the Sanghat. And like the core thing that when I got involved, I remember, I think Ray Dalio says this, he goes, radical transparency. Just be completely clear. What is there to hide in the Gurdwara?
Scare them with transparency.
Just give them anything. And that's what we try to do. It's literally everything. It's an open book.
Yeah.
Someone walks in tomorrow. I would like to understand why you paid this supplier this amount. What does this supplier do for us? Why are you charging this? But here you go. Here's the contracts. Here's the invoices. This is the process we went about appointing.
Yes.
They're involved.
As here's the process rather than it's because you much acha.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the last thing we get about.
Yes.
That kind of thing, because it undermines people's faith in the
institution. Yeah.
And once you do that, it's a generational thing. People just like, they're all like that.
Yeah.
But it's sad because it's not.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing. We want people to put faith in the Gurdwara as an institution.
Yep.
As a community, we don't have a nation. What's the next best thing we have? Is our Gurdwara. They are the hubs of everything. Everything, if you go back to all the big moments in Sikh history, and our own personal histories, our births, our weddings, our marriages, it's all...
Even when we died. Yeah.
The Gurdwara is going to be the centre or Sikh's life forever.
Yeah.
And as a community, it's the only representation we have. So if you don't have faith in it, we're not going to be able to achieve things. So the best way to have faith in it is to just be completely open, transparent. People will disagree. They might say, no, you shouldn't have painted the wall that colour. That's fine. But we made a decision. This was the process by which we made it, and we're going to go with it.
Yes.
And that's what people need to understand is, right, as long as the decision's made fairly, openly, there's accountability, and there can be dissent. Once the decision's made, let's go for it.
Yeah, yes.
And that's, again, a weakness our community has is of that collective responsibility. Right, if a community's been elected by the Sanghat, so they're legally, morally, correctly appointed, then they're going to make decisions, again, within the framework of the Constitution, of Dharam, the Urbani, of Ityas, of the law. We're living in the UK. We're going to have to follow what the law says. Otherwise, well, you have to. There's no speculation on there. So when you make a decision, follow it through. And that's where a lot of infighting starts happening. No. I agreed with it at the time. I don't agree with it now.
What's your point? No,
yeah. Or there is a forum, raise it at a general body meeting.
Yeah.
Raise it.
And that feedback will be taken on and then utilised when you do something next time, because that's how continual improvement happens.
And it's not just unique to us. Everybody that has this problem is you end up having a committee of 21, 15, 11, whatever the magic number is. Every town is different. You have individuals, but they don't get the training. They don't get how an organization should be run. They don't get how meetings should be conducted right now. It's sad. I've seen meetings where there is the behavior by some individuals. Sometimes you're shocked. This is a Gurdwara. And especially when you work in the corporate world, like, whoa. Then you realize, okay, roll up your sleeves. We got involved.
I can pull these people up with me, basically.
Exactly. We got involved to make it professional, to make it fit and ready. That stuff used to work in the past, but it doesn't today.
And I guess also with the Gurdwara being so big and so pivotal in a lot of ways, you actually you don't have time for that either, really. You kind of need to hit the ground running in order to keep these systems and the institution working in the way it does.
And one of the problems is, like with election cycles, is they're so narrow. So, here we have 3-year terms. What often happens is your first year, if you get involved, it's a blaze. It's a haze, rather. You're trying to work out what's going on. It's like you're starting a new role. You have no idea where things are, where paperwork is, who does what.
Yeah.
Then you maybe have a year actually trying to implement good projects. And then your final year is getting ready for the next cycle of elections, which is unfortunate because who loses out is us collectively, because so much energy, time, money, resource is wasted in elections, which is one of the inherent weaknesses of the free election system. And which is why, doing things through Sanjay after selection does have massive benefits, because you're not wasting all that energy time on inefficient things.
Yeah.
Just on that, actually. So the election system, as good or as bad as it can be, within the constitution of the Gurdwara, there is a selection process. So what happens is, the way it works for the Gurdwara here is, once all the candidates have come forward and you have the pool of them, however many they may be, if 80% of them come together and say, we're going to put together and stop the election, and actually within our selections, within our people, we make a selection, that will then go forward. The MEC, the membership elective committee, will then facilitate that where needed. And then once the 80% come forward and say, let's do it, they will sit down and create some kind of forum, whether it's a sit down or whatever, some online votes. And then from that pool of however many there are, they themselves will choose the committee.
Unfortunately, it's never happened. So I'm to that. And that's the problem with it, because by the time you can do it, all the mudslinging starts. It's 13 at the beginning. So it's been designed in a way, it's a great idea, but
you need an overwhelming majority, though, which is quite hard.
It's not quite about 80%. It's quite that's high, but also the process by which it happens, or at the point where you can do it, it's so down the line that the rivals, the bitterness, it's going to start.
Yeah,
and people are like, no, on the election economy, which is unfortunate. As a Gurdwara, people should put away the egos, they should put away the splittism and irka, and just say, you know what, you understand, we understand. Tell you what, let's work together. Yeah, and that's always the key. The problem is, I see, we're not going to now look at the qualities of the people. It's going to be,
also the names.
Okay, so let's put the best collective 21 people we can find collectively. That's what common sense would do.
Yes, yeah.
And it might be the case, unfortunately, most of them come from one, say, affiliation, but then if they really are as good as they sound, they're going to drop the party label, they're going to drop the affiliation, they're going to be now, right, we are Singh Sabha, that's it.
I guess on the rumours and the mudslinging, most, I would say, Punjabi Sikh idea of Gurdwara committees is a negative idea. Whether you've been involved or you've not, I'm pretty sure everyone has got or heard of some story to do with Gurdwara committees and the infighting that happens. I guess the question to you is that these rumours dominate public perception. What do you think outsiders often misunderstand? Because you wrote, like, you're in it, you're about to get dumped in it by what it sounds like. What do people misunderstand on the outside? Like, is it really kind of schoolyard politics, or is there just kind of like a certain background noise you just need to ignore and get on with?
It's like everything. The minority taints the majority.
Yeah.
So the first thing is Gurdwara are the Guru's house.
Yeah.
The Guru Nanak Dev Ji's house. Remember that. The individuals involved, the Guru's perfect, but the individuals involved will not be perfect. Yeah. They're human beings. We've got to be mature and not let all the noise impact the great work that they're doing. We just talked about the incredible things that we have been doing, and more importantly, the opportunity of what more we could be doing if all our time, energy wasn't wasted in all the nonsense, the muscling, the noise. Now, that being said, this is where the concept of institution building comes in. Because the systems and processes are absent, are weak, don't exist, the concepts sometimes don't even appear on people's radar.
No.
Generation above me, I'll take my dad as an example. He's not involved in the committee, amazing guy. He's come to this country, he's worked hard, raised kids. I'm grateful what he's done for me. But he doesn't have that corporate experience, for example, of how monthly accounts should be produced and produced. But what happens is we put forward uncles who might have run a corner shop. He might have been a bus driver. Great, see, you need those people as well. You also need with them to complement people who've got professional experience at the same time. So I'm not saying you just need one kind. You need a mix of people with different backgrounds, different education levels. Some may speak Punjabi, some may not. You need to then collectively harness all the Gornabe Kohya. That's the thing. We got to take on people's good virtues and make use of it. Implement the best practices. Why is it so hard to publish all your financial records? Why is it so hard to have thorough reports? Now, whether people read it or not is a different question.
But it's on you to publish it.
Exactly. As a Gurdwara, as a Prabandhak member, as a committee, the onus is on me to share everything that we need to, and then work with the Sangat, have forums, have discussions, welcome people's challenges, welcome people's questions. Dissent is good. Progress comes from dissent. People. I remember in this time around in 22, we started something called, I think we were the Finance Forum or Sunday Forum, and just said, look, come in. We want people's views. We want to declare a budget for the first time. And it's never been done in Singapore, where people have had an annual budget. And look how bad that is. An institution on this level.
That's the first point.
And it's the case across across the world. It's not unique to us.
No.
You should have a 5-year plan. You should have a 10-year plan. You should have minimum of an annual budget, right? This is what we expect to come in. These are the projects we're going to work on. And then people can get on with delivering those projects. And that's one of those institution building concepts. Simple things like a budget, having a monthly accounts produced, having annual meetings, making sure quorum happens. It's sad. We've had times where we can't even have our general body meeting because we haven't had 150 people turn up for quorum to happen. So then quorum, we can't actually have the meeting. And now you think about it, we're the biggest Gurdwara in the UK, and if we're struggling to sometimes even have an annual meeting, what does that mean? Are people not interested? Or might be the opposite, that they're absolutely happy with having to run.
Well, I just as you were talking, I was thinking about the fact that, in my opinion, the Gurdwaras haven't changed since I was a child. And I'm only a few years younger than yourselves. But what I mean is, I remember when I was a kid, there was talk at the Gurdwara commentary about turning it essentially, or building into it, like a nursery, a creche, a school. Basically, the idea was from cradle to grave.
Yeah.
We'll just look after it and stuff. I haven't seen, I think Soho Road is the only Gurdwara that's implemented something kind of along those lines. But otherwise than that, Gurdwara, in my opinion, being quite kind of blunt about it, are just places we go to on a Sunday and do matha take, have langar and go home. So, hearing that, I'm kind of two minds, which is maybe some of these people are just like, we don't want to get involved because of the mess of it. But secondly, where has the change been? And that's not to you guys or to that Gurdwara in particular, but I just mean in general, especially when you consider the millions of pounds that goes through these places, and then all they're doing is, and like you mentioned, these Gurdwaras should have like a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, which I think would be incredible. But I think would also be disappointed, which is their 5-year plan would be, especially one I can think of in commentary, buy the pub next door, knock it down and build a car park, which is great for their weddings or whatever. But where's the kind of material investment in the community that's actually going to make a difference? It's great I have someone to get married. Not that I'm about to do it again, but outside of that, so where are we going as a community or as institution members? How do we tackle those things?
It's interesting that the Cradle's Grave concept is actually the fundamental building block of our last manifesto and this one, making sure we are providing what we can from children all the way to the end of the journey, right? So let's break it down, right? If you think about the Dharmic stuff, we know when you have a child, you go to the Gurdwara. Yeah, get married, Amasanchar, Vidya Sanskar, and Antam Sanskar. Those even simply people just keep doing the same thing again and again. So the process are lacking. So taking other gardages, for example. So we know the challenges we face as a community in the UK. People just don't understand why they get married in Gurdwara. No, and no one did anything about it. No. So we were okay, we've got to take the lead. So one thing we implemented was a mandatory unguarded course. Yep. If you want to get married in Southall, you're going to have to come to a half-day course. And the course isn't just, right, another guy you stand up, turn up to a walk. No, that's the bare minimum. You get told about the program, physically. But it's more about living a grist life, a married life in Sikhi. What does it mean? How to start your life. What does Bilal was singing? The concept of the extended family, it's not the same as it used to be. So preparing our children for that, educating them. And that was critical because we've actually had cases where people who were being forced to do the not cottage, lucky going there, right? They have them banging hands. They're just doing it. They're doing cultural because they really can. Yeah. They turn around and said, actually, like now we appreciate the significance of the not cottage.
Maybe we were.
We'll just assume so. The whole issue with interfaith stuff. Now, for the purposes of the podcast, to be clear, we don't do interfaith marriages. No. People might be from other backgrounds. They might be of other races. They're welcome to join the Sikh way of life. Now, before you do that, we're going to educate you.
Yeah.
To come to another garden. And we have this. We have people from other communities who are getting married to someone of the Sikh faith. They come to the course and they understand it. And they say, yes, you know what? I'm going to live a life according to the Guru Nanak's way. I want to raise my children according to Guru Nanak's way. Problem we've had is we've pushed people away without trying to educate them.
Yeah,
I actually willingly want to adopt our way of life.
Yeah.
And that's been great. So that's just a small example of the type of functions we do. Even funerals, most people, we turn up, we do it, go home. Has the family been given that pastoral care? We really supported them. Has the Granthi really explained to them what the Sikh way of thinking of death is?
Yep.
No, we either use speeches, Guru, Anamananda Balgopche. We hear that.
Yeah.
But there's more to that, right? Supporting the families and giving them a physical space sometimes. I mean, even the concept of source. Someone's died in someone's family, and what ends up happening is from 10 a.m. in the morning to 10 p.m. at night,
People are just in their house. Yeah.
It's one of the hardest periods of times. So that's one of the things we're now thinking about is, okay, why don't we have a space at the Gurdwara where families' houses might not be big enough. They can't actually physically provide Japani. Come and do a source there, sit down, you're supported, provided for. It's a tiny thing,
But it's a big difference.
changes it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Park Avenue is known for, because its location, Park Avenue is where most funerals for Sikhs happen in Southall. We're doing 3-4 a day.
Wow.
That's all. Right? I'm talking 20 funerals a week.
That's insane.
Tens of thousands of Sangat will come to the Gurdwara every single week for a funeral service. So what would happen is, the darshan of the deceased used to happen in a tiny little room. We didn't have the space. But realizing, actually, this is like
The last moment.
last moments of someone's. They should be dignified, should be respectful. We want to support the family. So we create a dedicated space, a multi-purpose space, where now the darshan happens of the body. It's dignified, respectful. People can have a nice, quiet area where people, family, friends come and pay their last respect. It's a tiny little thing, creating a physical space.
That makes such a big
It can make a big difference to a Sikh's life, right? And say the children of our family will remember that experience. The Gurdwara was there for us in our dadaji's or nanas or mom and dad's last moment, and want to come back to the Gurdwara, and we have their cases. So it's really making sure that every experience that someone has at the Gurdwara, whether it's a Kanwat, whether it's a Visarafal, a wedding, they get a great experience and like a professional experience from the moment of booking all the way through on the day how it happens. And did they really get the anam they should have during the Sugan Shuttle Bar? Did the Granthis do the part nicely? Should. Was the Kirtan great? Or was it just sort of a conveyor belt? Says,
it's done for the sake of it.
I'm not saying we're perfect. We don't get it right all the time.
But the intention is there. And so that, I think, makes a big difference.
That's the
Systems and processes. Yeah. And I think that's it. It's system and processes rather than people. And I think, like I've stated at the beginning, I have nothing to gain from this. I have genuinely no idea about how the Gurdwara functions. But everything I've heard, if you just swapped the word Gurdwara for business or whatever, there would be no difference. And I think that goes to show the level of integrity and also professionalism involved in what is happening at the Gurdwara. Obviously, things are never perfect. Like, people aren't perfect, as you've already mentioned. and people will make mistakes, things won't go right. But I think ultimately, if you can turn around and explain, like you were saying, this is the process, these are the documents, this is the procedure as to how we got here. Like, what more can you do? Like, you can't please everyone.
I think that answers the question you were asking earlier as well. Like, why are things happening? But at the Gurdwara here, they are happening.
Yeah.
So in other places I've seen, or just in recent years, as a human thing is, we'll have to complain.
Yeah,
They don't like that. We don't see what.
it's easier to complain than do it yourself, right?
So I say this, and just earlier today I've been saying it's okay. If you're asking something, if you want to see something, what are you doing about it? Like how many times can you complain until you realize that you need to be part of the change?
Yes.
Throughout history, we look for others to become leaders. We look for others to be realize to change,
And then it's too late.
But yeah, when does that time come? So one of the things that I've said a few times is like if not us, then who?
Yeah.
Now, then when? And that's one of the things that sticks with me. And is one of the reasons why I am where I am today and working to be part of the committee is because I've seen these guys do the work. The professionals, like I said, the implementation of all the processes. I'm looking here like, I'm used to this. I've been working for 12 years.
Yeah, I can literally just transplant what I get here into this and have a benefit. Yeah.
So all the benefits that, because I'm self-employed, right? I've been running a business for a few years, and the things that I've managed to do in my for the consultancy of the years and working in the tech industry, I realized if I can just use those skills and actually do further for the Gurdwara, why wouldn't I do that?
And it's a perfect combination. So like, you love the Gurdwara, you love what you do, you put the two together.
What's unique about things like South is because of our scale and size and prominence.
Yeah.
If we do something good and right, it transcends.
Yeah.
Go to the Huppias. Just take the example of the non-college course. We started it to serve our purpose. Yeah, same summer. Very quickly, other Gurdwara just said, look, how we keep in our company.
Yeah.
More the merrier. We have the space, we've got the facilitators. And look at the beauty of it. Those couples that come, again, they're still the typical, inverted commas, lady comes to Gurdwara maybe for a
Sunday
bar for a Sunday.
Yeah.
Or they're even a wedding. That's about it. Actually, they left the room after half a day being like, wow, I didn't know any of that. I didn't know any of that. I really now appreciate more everything happening. And, I think these pivotal moments in one's lives, when you get married, when you have a child, you do start thinking bigger more than yourself. Just take that collectively and say, right, these are Com's children, once children are like ours. Are we doing everything and anything we can to realize the full potential of that child?
Yeah.
And I mean, spiritually, that academically, professionally,
Every single level.
every single child.
Yeah.
And that's one of the key drivers for us and me personally was exactly that. Because I realized from my own experiences of how much the Gurdwara was doing, and that's just people do an amazing amount of work. Might not always shout about it, might not always be clear. There's always more we can do. But that was the key thing, how much more we can do for that next generation.
Yeah.
To give you another small example, and this time around, we had younger women in our committee. And not just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Right? One thing we were clear is we want people from all backgrounds representing some bit, but equally, they're going to have positions based on their qualities, their virtues, right? And senior positions as well, not just token gestures.
Yeah.
But it brings a massive dynamic change and perspective change. So a young mum has different needs. She understands things differently, what they need in the Gurdwara. Simple things like breastfeeding rooms, baby changing.
Yes.
You
would never, maybe the baby changing room, but the breast intimacy, we wouldn't.
And that dawned on me, okay, right, when a couple has a child, right, typically mom's at home, 6, 7, 8, 9 months. During the maternity, she's going to want to go to the Gurdwara. Yeah, but there's that instinctive thing. You really want to do everything you can. And you want to take our kid to the Gurdwara. And if your Gurdwara hasn't got the facilities where they can feed the child, she's not going to go. No. Because she physically can't. No. She can't feed the child in a car. It's not dignified. And then it dawned on me, hold on, that means they're probably not going to go to the Gurdwara as much as they want for the first 7, 8, 9 months of the child's life. Habits form. They're going to break away from the Gurdwara.
Yeah.
It's a sad thing, but it's not deliberate. But if no one's thought about the consequences of what potentially happens, that's another generation you're potentially losing to the Gurdwara. Simple. So straight away, we've already got the plans in place. We come back in, dedicated baby changing facilities because it's so important.
Yeah.
And we've got baby clubs. We've got castle clubs, place where typically mums, but it's open to dad as well.
That's true.
Parents come in, a couple of times a week. Parents can talk to each other. Kids play.
Yeah.
You do the Sikh history nursery rhymes, but it's the usual things. Yeah. Just facing things. Because it's happening at the Gurdwara, it's a reason to go to the Gurdwara.
Yeah.
A reason to do Makhatek. You'll sit down for a bit, listen to a Kirtan Katha. So having especially young mothers on the committee, complete game changer because it changes the perspective of it, right? And so simple things like facilities. So we already got in the plans to make sure we have dedicated baby changing feeding areas because that just means mums will come to the Gurdwara. And then, right, kids are slightly older. It's incredibly difficult to get kids to focus and concentrate and sit inside the darbar for half an hour, even 10, 15 minutes. It's tough. It's okay. Let's find a way that will encourage them to want to learn, come, stay. And we did that. We built the Gurdwara Singh Children's Library.
Yeah.
Just outside of the bars falls at Havelock Road. Stopped it with Punjabi Ityas, Dharma, history, self-development books, both in Punjabi and English. Kids, if they get fidgety, take them outside, read a book 5-10 minutes, come back inside. Or stay outside, you'll still hear the run going on. You're there for a wedding, it's hard to sit there for 3 hours with kids. This is why they hate going. Just make it appealing, give them the things that will make them want to learn. They're simple things, right? Kids concentrate at school, they stay there for 6-7 hours a day. Yeah. Why? Because they're engaged. We're changing the activity. We're forcing them to do something that just aren't instinctively be able to.
Yeah.
But see, now they're still learning. They're learning more, in fact. So those little things make a massive difference, having good people with real life experience, but importantly, actual vision. They're thinking this is what's needed. And then they put in the time, the effort, the graft to make it happen. It's not easy finding 500-600 kids' Punjabi books. I think it's the biggest children's book stock in probably the world we've got. Every book that Punjabi authors have written about the faith, language, culture, we've tried to find and we stock it there. We knew kid books will go missing. Right? People don't walk away with it. It's unfortunate. You know what? If someone learned something, great.
I think I've seen a list of this library because I think, is it Van?
Yeah.
He sent me
it's his wife, Kira.
Yeah, he sent me the spreadsheet. I was like, the only thing missing should be in here. And I gave him a load of ideas. But the problem is some of these books are very expensive.
We're out of print. Yeah.
So if they go missing, I know it doesn't kind of technically matter, but it does.
It does matter. And then, of course, we want to safeguard. Porter. But the bigger picture is, okay, fine. We do tell people, please don't take books home. They're here for the collective side.
Yeah.
But the bigger picture is, if the kid learns something.
That's definitely. Yeah. We've got about 4 or 5 questions left, and I will try and stick to them. I think one of the questions that really got my attention, and this is also because coming from Coventry, I don't quite see, or we don't have the same kind of issues that you guys will need to deal with, which is the Punjabi student population and kind of the role the Gurdwara plays in that, because there's a lot of noise on social media about how the Gurdwara should technically be playing more of a role in that community. What I don't quite actually understand, right? But getting to the point, how does the Gurdwara support the large Punjabi student population, and what are some of the issues that population brings?
Well, one thing I can say, so there's been a Punjabi student forum that's happened.
Yeah.
So over a number of weeks, a survey was sent out. A survey was actually given at the Gurdwara, and there was many opportunities. So we've had things close to over 100 or so men, women, young, old, also different students from different backgrounds that have come out and talking about all their problems. So they give information of why they're here, what they're studying, and what it is that they want from the Gurdwara, what kind of say they're about in. So we're currently going through a process of dissecting that information and seeing what facilities and services do we already have that we can then further push, which they weren't already aware of, and what new things are there that need to be put in. So we've started that process. It's something that does take time, especially like say with the election. Yeah.
What are the key things is actually understanding what are the needs.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to say kush karo. What key? What do they want, right? And so that's what the survey was to understanding. What is it they need? So we know fundamentally everyone is part of our collective family, right? At some point, everyone was new to the country, whether it was in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. We've had waves of immigration. That's just how the community's got to the UK. Yeah. So currently, of course, the biggest cohort is now students from Punjab. They're trying to make a life for themselves. That's why they're here, right? We all came with our life.
At
the time, the Gurdwara helped them in the way they could. Today, we're trying to do exactly the same. So obviously, the basic, say London, it's open for really. Even tonight, we know cost of living is difficult. A lot of the students live in shared accommodation, HMOs, legal ones, illegal ones. Often they're denied use of the kitchen where they're renting these houses. This is how bad it is, right?
Wow.
They let them a room and the landlord will be like, you can't use the kitchen. So they can't even cook in their own homes. When are they going to eat?
Wow.
So Langar is there. And truly, this is where Guru Dev Ji's Langar comes into, really helping those who need it, who can't afford it, or physically can't even cook because they're not allowed to by their landlords. That's really sad. These landlords are also up in with W6.
Oh, my. Okay.
Remember, most of Southall around the area, first gen that moved in has moved out. Now they're renting out the houses to, say, students now. Or
So it's not even like a grown up being like, you innovation stinky ass roof.
it's sad. It's our community that keeps our own community back.
And what is the reasoning behind it?
Well, I mean, it's just sad and bullying, right? Just
There's no real purpose.
no, it's not. I mean, you rent a house, you expect to be able to use the kitchen. Yeah, it's sad. But look, coming back to it.
Yeah.
Langar is there. This was exactly the purpose of the Langar, to feed those who need it.
Yep.
And it does that. From the morning till night. And credit to them, they don't just take Langars, they do Seva in the Gurdwara, which is how it should be as well. So that's just the bare minimum. But then outside that, we realise, well, what do these guys need help with? Access to jobs. So in forums, putting up notices of jobs are available, immigration advice. Again, we get Siradars who are in the legal field. They'll come up and set help desks where you need help renewing documents. You need help opening a bank account. When you come to the UK, you don't have a clue of how you do these things, setting up and getting a GP. All those simple things, you can waste weeks of your lives when you've got no money, you don't know the country. Again, signposting these people there. Then it's helping, fortunately, they had disputes. Employers don't pay the students.
Yep.
They get money. Again, who do you go to for help? You don't know anyone in the country. You're afraid, you don't know how the authorities work. You're not going to be able to afford a lawyer. The Gurdwara are key. They're the hub of the community. We can say, don't do this to them.
And that exploitation, I again assume, is happening from our own people.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're the ones who know that these guys know nothing and can take advantage of it.
It's really sad when you realise some of the people who do this, the wealthy, and they've got factories, they're very well off, and they exploit their own community. It's really sad. And some people sometimes are prominent members of the community.
It reminds me, I can't remember the name of the Saki, but I see the photo in my head of Guru Nanak. He's holding both the rupee on, one's milk and one's blood, right? It doesn't sound too...
yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
It's exactly that. So our community is drinking the blood of our own.
Yeah.
Doing behaviour like this, right? These guys are financially struggling. They're new to the country. There's exploitation of the women. Fair enough. It happens. And it's, again, sad that people from our own community. So this is quite an important project that we really got involved with, is we help fund something called the Asra project. The Asra, literally support. So it was there to provide refuge, especially to women who are maybe suffering domestic violence, abuse, not being paid. And it wasn't just financial support. We support them. They'd have caseworkers. We actually even use one of our Gurdwara houses as a refuge. It's now used as a safe house. It's a safe house, exactly that. So often, again, the state will not help someone with our takers. No. If they're with immigrant status, they're not going to get funding from the council. They might get immediate health support and police support, but after that, they're not going to get given a safe place to live. So imagine you're a woman who's suffering domestic violence from your husband, your kids. Right? The worst things happen. The police take you out of the house, and that's it. You're left to fend on your own. Where are you going to go? And this is where the Gurdwara is literally saving lives. It is the asra of these people. They have somewhere to go where they're safely living with their children, with them supporting them through the legal process of getting the help, support they need. Sometimes it might mean going back to India. Sometimes it might mean able to get them asylum in the UK now if the kids are here and the populations. And that, again, is where the Gurdwara really does it quietly. We don't make a big hoo-ha about it. We don't shout about it.
Just on that, and a quick tangent before we go for the last few questions. Don't you think the Gurdwara need to shout about these things so that more of the community are aware? And I don't mean shout about it in terms of look how great we are, we're helping all these people, but in terms of look at how we can help others. If you know someone, kind of let them know.
Yeah, and so that's something sometimes we're a bit, you know that concept of nimrata. It's like, I was just carried away too far. We're doing it. We don't want to just keep shouting and keep putting photos of the Korea Bark up there. You're right. We also have a responsibility to make people aware.
It's a very delicate balance. I completely I share some of the similar problems. I'm like, actually, I want to share about this, but then does it come across as though I'm like,
and it happens, right? You see, that typical like in India where there's a plaque of the guy's name. Every day, just bill.
or you're getting a slip off for like donating £5 to the Golo.
Like we have that. Right? We've got people out in the community. They want their name on every single thing that goes through it, and it becomes so cringe that people get fed up of it. Right? We've had that in our community. The uncle who just literally wants his face on every single thing that ever happened. It was because of me.
Yeah, you don't want that. No. So when I was doing the research for this, and I actually got confused. So the Charity Commission came out, I think, a few weeks ago and had dropped the case into Southall Gurdwara because an Indian journalist had complained about the Khalistan plaques that had apparently been there for decades. I actually got it muddled up, and I thought that was the Southall Gurdwara. Anyway, it still kind of relates because we've seen, obviously, with the Southall Gurdwara, when Indian journalists and state pressure fed into a Charity Commission investigation, which came to nothing in the end. And I think it's just a complete waste of Charity Commission time because irrespective of what you think about 1984 and the politics of it, it holds a place in Sikh history and like end the conversation as far as I'm concerned. How do external influences impact what you guys do at the Gurdwara, and what precautions do you have to take? And I'll just be completely honest, I got personally a threat to life notice in 2023 in March. So I know this stuff is real. And we were all told basically the police can't do anything, leave the house. We didn't leave the house because as far as I'm concerned, if someone's going to try and come and murder me, like you get on with it.
Yeah.
How does it work though when those pressures are focused towards the Gurdwara?
It's tough. Let's go to especially prominent ones like Singh Sabha. It's high profile. It's out there, right? The things we say, the things we do, the people that come and speak on the stage, the exhibitions we hold, the poster or banner we put up has relevance. It has an impact. So I know the challenge is Slough faced. We worked with them. We supported them on them. We've had the same challenges, right? We've got pictures and banners of Santanaz, which we've had Charity Commission ask questions and try.
They've been there for a long time.
They have been, and often it's got to be people within the community who will raise complaints. Usually, they'll spin things for political agenda.
Well, with the one in Southall, we all know the community agitator in respect to that. And everyone is very aware against that.
So this is part and parcel. When you're in a position of responsibility, you've got a framework of legal rules, but also your responsibility to the guru and the pant and the com to do what's right by it first and foremost. And sometimes those things may conflict with the laws of the land, but then you've got to find a way to cleverly navigate those in a respectable, honest, with integrity. So you don't ever compromise the morals and the ethics, but then you also got to abide by law of the land as well there. And if you're smart, you think, you work collectively, you can do that.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're just giving a middle finger up to the Sarkar, that's not helpful.
No.
You work in a smart way. And that's why it's important to have the greatest minds attracted to trying to help you as Gurdwara. Right? So you don't have to go to Gauri all the time for legal advice. If you've got people who work in the sector who respect the Gurdwara, they're going to come forward and say, okay, I understand you're facing this challenge. I've got expertise in this field. I'm going to help you do it. That's where having a good reputation is really, really important and helpful. Now, coming back to the idea of pressure, there is. You get pressure, you get political pressure, you can get physical pressure. It's happened. It's unfortunate. People involved with committees who are conflicted. They've got loyalties to political parties in India often. Or they've got business interests in India, which they have to now try to protect. This is where the soft pressure comes in. Why is that? You always think about the Pradhan is always constantly trying to be Modi. Why is that?
So it makes so much sense because for me, besides having, say, some family in Punjab, that's as far as my connection goes.
Same for us. And that's generational difference. So we love Punjab. So our home is our bones, history is all there. Right? But if you've got business interest in India,
changes everything.
Change everything. Now, remember the whole the Wild West of the Russia days, right? The oligarchs. It's the same system, right?
Yes. Yeah.
How does the state exert pressure?
I need to get hand in glove with the politicians so it benefits my business interest.
And so then they want quid pro quo. So how do they do that? They want their preferred candidate running the Gurdwara here, setting the agenda, setting the scene. Otherwise, you're going to lose your license back home. We're going to take this permit away from back home. It's sad, but that's how the system works. That's what we have to be very, very careful and think about. Right?
That was a proper light bulb moment for me when you explained that, because it just, like, everything, because there was that infamous meeting with the committee however many years ago.
Yeah.
And I always wondered, though, I think on one side there is obviously the argument where, like, the Sikhs come from India, Indian prime minister or whatever, cool, like, maybe. But as soon as you send business, I was like, yeah, exactly.
I think, look, having dialogue with states, otherwise you're not going to get what you want.
Yeah.
You have to dialogue with the British establishment, right? With ministers, ministries, the police, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's about how you do it. Having an agenda, being clear and transparent. We are meeting X for the purposes of Y to achieve Z.
Yes. Rather than a closed door kind of opposition.
That's where problems occur, right? And when it's always about an individual constantly trying to be the figurehead, the leader, the task force leader, that's where people then start questioning and get fed up of it. Dialogue is important. Gurdwara, like I said at the start, are our leading organizations. Whether you knock the SGPC or not, it's there. You've got to respect the institution. The individuals you can question, but as an institution, it is a body of Sikhs. You can improve it, but it's there. You've got to use it. Use it for the best for the bunt. Don't just keep knocking it. Get involved. Same thing with the Gurdwara. It is your organization. It is your institution. Get involved. Make sure you put the right people at the forefront who are going to do the right thing behind closed doors and in front. Yeah, ultimately.
My penultimate question, and I think this is an interesting thing just in general. I come from a mixed background. My mom was born in St. Helens near Liverpool. She's as white as any like Didbi Gori you'd see on the street. She married my dad, and hence why we're here. And it was Kichawale Babaji who did their wedding, right? And my mom always used to say, if someone at that point had denied me to do the Anant Cottage, you guys wouldn't have kept your gifts. And I just think that's an interesting point. I think it's nice to hear you guys have a middle approach, which is we'll educate you and then you can make your decision. And I think that's brilliant. But bringing the kind of the story back to where I'm trying to go with this, my mom's brother, again, Gorda, like he wouldn't stand out in a pub, right? He lives in New York, and we went to see him just after Rishi Sunak got elected. And he was like, you must be really happy there's finally a brown man in power. And I just turned around to him and was like, what the fuck are you on about? I was like, he represents nothing. I'd share nothing with this guy. Like, absolutely nothing. Maybe my skin color, but outside of that, just no way. And then I did a podcast with Hadi Matharu from the Byline Times soon after, and we had a really interesting debate about this, about how, like, skin folk doesn't mean kinfolk. Like, just because we share, like, doesn't mean we share the same ideal, right? And I think there is something in the fact that the older you get, the more kind of right-wing you become, but also I do think that Sikh ideals, a lot of them are almost incompatible with some of this weird kind of political partying. So where I'm trying to go with this is, we have a massive Sikh population. Southall obviously has probably the biggest concentration in the country. Maybe it's second to Birmingham after looking at the donors. But it's one of their top two, right? I already kind of have some answers to this myself. But why do you think political progress in any kind of shape or form has been so limited from a community that is, we've been here for what, like half a century, if not longer? We have people at the highest kind of platforms in all other industries and areas. I think it was only in the last general election cycle that we've seen the highest number of Sikh MPs get elected. Again, though, in Birmingham. What are, like, from your perspectives, what do you think needs to happen for there to be more political engagement or advancement from the Sikh community? And what has, in your opinion, stopped it from getting there?
There's a couple of elements, right? So, obviously, getting involved in the UK, it's a two-party system. So to get in there, you need to be either It's turning into a 3, maybe 4 now. But traditionally, it was the party, right? So you either go through the Labour or Tories. So most Sikhs tended to live in Labour seats.
Yep.
Because those are working class areas. So they never really thought about it from a political point of view, which philosophy or which policy aligns closely to Sikh way of life.
It's more practical.
Yeah. And, one day we'll go there. But obviously at the time, Lord Mutabak, it was, right, this is where we live. Labour is immigrant friendly, so therefore we're going to violence it. Exactly. So where you live made a difference. Now in Southall, there's only going to be one seat, so there's only going to be one person doing it. So if you concentrate there arithmetically, it's the most you can do is get one MP there. And then obviously politics plays a role, right? The infighting starts when the opportunity, but that gets revealed. People don't think collectively, right, for the greater good, let's just back a worthy candidate.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. And then there's also actually, do we just want people in power because
That's it.
he's a Sikh?
Yeah.
Or do we want people who are actually going to do the Sikh thing for the collective pala of everyone? If Guru Nanak Dev's message is for the Jagat Gurua, if it's really for the world, what we should be focusing on is getting those principles, regardless of who you're from. No one ever thinks about what was Guru Nanak Dev's economic policy. What should a structure should Guru Nanak Dev add?
I feel like this is the interesting part of the podcast now. Sorry, no.
What is the judicial system that the Sikh faith advocates, right? How should justice be served? But it's talking about the spectrum. Is it capital punishment? Is there rehabilitation? What should it be? No one ever thinks about it. That's the problem. We haven't taken our thinking to that level. It's got to like the goodness gracious meme of bug, sick. It's helps also in it. And that's what's unfortunate. That's where we need to mature and really think about it. But that maturity is only going to happen if, again, where does everything start? The Gurdwara.
Yeah.
That's been the platform. If your management, if the people you got running your Gurdwara aren't on that wavelength, aren't thinking like that, then your progress is capped to Langar, weekend Khatbad, that's it. Then, you start implementing the Punjabi style of thinking of, Jor karke ida karna, ida karna. There's no strategic thinking.
No.
Now, Jagmeet, you might like him, you might knock him, you might like the NDP or not, but strategically, how he worked and operated and got to where he got to as the leader of the third largest party in Canada was quite incredible if you look at the journey, right? Getting involved in the stables.
Right at the start,
Yeah. So that was strategic thinking. Whether he had a long-term plan or not, I don't know. But he looks like he did. That's how he got there. Whereas here, there isn't that thinking. We can take inspiration from other communities. They get involved at grassroots level. And here's the other problem: is people, they do very well business-wise. They might be well off, and then what's the next stage of life? MP Banda. Of course, where it should be is, right, be activists from the grassroots level. Start. Be passionate about a particular thing, whether it is housing, whether it's about the environment. Get involved with NGOs, get involved with charity. Then you've got something to offer.
Yeah.
Just because your dad owned the men's fight-lets in the town, it doesn't qualify you to become the MP for that town. It should be, it's public service. And, in the Gurdwara, I'm advocating elect people with the right virtues and the gun for the role. Same thing with politicians. Put people in who've got the gun to be able to deliver what society needs. It's great to see Sikhs in Parliament. It's great to see Sikhs involved, but it shouldn't just be because of the sake of it. Because they're actually going to implement a Sikh way of life in the country. Because ultimately, otherwise, what's the point?
Well, I think the irony for me was that, and I will have to double check this before I post this, but every single Sikh MP voted to make Palestine Action a prescribed group. And on the same day, there were Sikh female MPs, along with all the other female MPs of Parliament, taking a photo to commemorate suffragettes, which is just the biggest historical irony of the world, because the suffragettes weren't doing minta and asking people, like, can you change your mind? They were physically going on the streets. I think one of them threw themselves in front of the king's horse and he goes flying as a result of it. So, anyway, just parking that. The last question I have is...
I think there's one good point to add to that is, I have sympathy for these politicians on this because the party system, they've got the whip.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes unfair to them. Like, I think morally they know what they're doing might not be the right thing. They want to do it. But the problem of the system is if they don't, they lose the whip, they lose the seat. And that's sometimes where, okay, are you going to go with your conscience? And I can't answer that. That's for them to answer. Do they vote with the conscience and quit?
Yeah.
Maybe they should at times. But as a collective community, sometimes also just got to be mindful is, okay, look, it's been bloody hard to get people to where they are. They might have to vote in a particular way on a particular cause. And that's because the system is stacked up against them. If they don't, they're out. What's better then? They, on that one particular piece of legislation, they go with the conscience and then are out forever.
Sure.
Which it's balancing. Yeah. Sometimes it's easy just to throw everything at them and they get a lot of hate.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's rightly due.
Yeah.
But other times you've got to have a bit of sympathy and realize, unfortunately, that's how the system works. And the only way you're going to change it is have more people involved at higher levels where they can make a real difference.
I guess you're completely correct. I guess my only kind of tidbit to that is actually, I think that just goes to show that the system changes you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think as many people as you try and flood into it, if they keep becoming part of the system, like, can we change? I don't know. Like I think that's a completely different. Yeah, different sort of hazard right there. But no, you're completely correct in the way the system works. I guess my last question is there anything that you guys think we should have mentioned or spoken about or want to include before you wrap up?
Just a few days back, I was listening to an interview, and then I was seeing some stuff.
Is this the Muckers interview?
Yeah. No. So just the last few days, so on national TV and YouTube, even comments on social media, that's a narrative from the other side of the party is being spun to say that there's too many youth coming out to join the party, that we are inexperienced.
How old are you, though?
I'm 32.
So,
Yeah.
We're young, but we're not exactly like, 12 or whatever.
I guess look at it from contextually, right? So we've had people's in the 70s all the way down.
Yeah.
So there's and we're on it already. Yeah. So in comparatively from where traditionally committees are, they're now saying, or it's been now being presented, that actually the Buntik team have too many youngsters. There's too many youth. There should only be a couple, because we don't have any experience. And even the comment on so on the manifesto, and even on our posters, we put out that some of our people are educated and degrees in built.
Also, as the BSc and the LLD thing,
and that was a conscious decision made to show that we are working alongside those people who have professional, who are here. We have the professionals working with those people who wrote this Gurdwara with their hands many years ago. So we want to work together to bring processes and systems in place. But it's quite upsetting to see that Orlando, who've been working for over 12 years, who've got various life experience, I've got a chunk or kibble, we're still being pointed at as the youth with no experience. When in reality there's probably one or two of us who haven't been in a committee as a member, but reality is we've been here for a long time. We've been serving as Sewadars. We've done work here in different capacities. But it's those kind of narratives that we're here now, we're stuck in. But I guess it others off.
That is completely true. But I think even if you were older, they'd have found something else. Yeah. Like, as in, I think the thing is, it's not necessarily like you just happen to be the youngest or second youngest one that they can pick up.
Yeah.
But ultimately, if you were older, it could have been like, I don't know, he works at a corner shop. What does he know about running with for argument's sake? It could have,
The majority of the debate isn't there, right? It should be based on, right, do someone, your idea on this isn't right because of this.
Yeah.
Or this policy isn't correct because of that. But
or have you thought about this implication?
That's the level of debate we should be having about a Gurdwara, right? Actual, real, gritty stuff about policy, about visions, about should we be having more than one nursery, for example. It's just as an example.
This might come across a little bit crude in the way I'll ask this, but do you think, similar to how Brexit happened, and it's essentially the 51% to leave were predominantly over 60, and a lot of the crude analysis was essentially when that generation dies off, there will be a huge influence to want to go back into Europe. And you can kind of start seeing it, like they're implementing I think if you're like 18 to 25, you can travel in Europe without having to do all of the ID stuff, right? Similarly with the Gurdwara, do you think after a particular generation and that thinking, unfortunately, or however you want to word it, dies out, do you think that level of conversation, like, as in, I guess actually, let's rephrase it, in the future, do you think you would always have these problems?
We're all creatures of habit, so we turn into those around us.
Yeah.
So what the thinking I had 10 years ago, the habits I had, they get formed and changed with the people I'm surrounded by now. So it's dangerous. And that's why it's important to have fresh faces, new ideas to keep you on your toes moving forward. I'm all for we need new people coming in. You can't keep having the same people again and again and again. There's no progress. That's why you had two limitations in the US, for example. Look at the job. We knocked the bottles. Why are we fed up with the same people again and again? You had control of it. But here, it's thought, right, you need to have succession planning in that. You need the next generation being inspired. So they've got to want to do it. It's got to be trying them to want to do it. But equally making sure they're the people who can give time. Because it requires a lot of time, a lot of dedication and sacrifice. But more importantly, skills. There's no point having youth for the sake of youth. No point having women for the sake of women. No point having elderly for the sake of it. They've got to be people who are going to bring something to the table and grow the Gurdwara, because we have a moral responsibility. Otherwise, we're doing a disservice to ourselves, to our Panth, and to our Guru, because we're ultimately here to serve the Guru's house.
Yeah. But even with that, I mean, people who are our age, people who we were taught are also the youth, they're also spinning similar narratives, right? Because you'd expect that maybe someone who's a little bit older or may not understand systems in a way where they'll get a WhatsApp forward, a rumor and stuff, still go with it. And then no matter what comes with the evidence, they stuck with it, right? Yes. But now with our age, with the age of information and the fact that you can verify, these rumors about the property being sold, for all good though. Recently, there's been videos and stuff going around, and we've done videos out to put out and put it to rest that there has been no land sale at this sort of.
It's quite insane, right? Like, this is not Punjab where you can just take land, right? The Gurdwaras in the UK are owned by charities. The charities are represented by the trustees, and like every single title deed which is publicly available literally says, right, this portion of land is owned by this charity, and it's in the name of these trustees for and on behalf of that charity. It's black and white. But again, I think some of the uncles spin and prey on people's ignorance. And the thing is, they're doing it predictably, which is really sad when it involves Gurdwara, because what you're doing is you're breaking people's shraddha in the Gurdwara. You might want to be attacking the individual, fine. It's not nice.
But it's not knock-on effect for
both parties. That's the thing that I realize is the immense damage you're doing to the concept of the Gurdwara for generations to come. And that too, with like just such blatant lies. How are you going to hold a piece of paper, which is a title deed, and say X when it says Y?
Or literally in black and white.
Literally in black and white. Probably, literally saying a Gurdwara has been sold, and the Gurdwara is like, no, it's not. It's still here. It's still owned by the charity. Like,
nothing's actually changed.
How do you? You've got to have a serious level of. Well, I mean, let's be polite.
Immaturity, isn't it?
So that's the thing, right? So Crawley have put out, the Gurdwara themselves have put out an official statement and official videos across their socials and everywhere. They've categorically said the Gurdwara has not been sold, it wasn't going to be sold, and it won't be sold. Right? You can check the land registries, everything's online and available. And people my age who have seen these conspiracy videos and all these allegations coming out, they've been seeing that, and then they ignored it. I said, no, I don't believe this. You guys are lying. So people in our age, people who we would have thought were more intellectual or would have had a moment to actually consider the facts. I say, you know what? I can spend £10 to go online and check myself and download the legit deeds and say who actually owns it. When was it last sold?
Yeah, but I think it's just mad. I think listening to this, I share a similar frustration because I can't remember when, but someone posted a photo. It's obviously a modern painting, but it's a photo of a painting of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. And this dude, I think it was like the guy was from the Bidli family, and he posted on Instagram that's like, look, this is a true to life photo of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Okay? That sentence in itself makes no sense. Cameras didn't exist at the time of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, right? Just first of all, again. That went viral. I mean, everyone was posting it, everywhere. And I did a little video being like, this is not legit and it's not authentic. Here's all the references, here's all the history, here's the artist. The artist didn't live at the same time as Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and also physically he was in like Iran or something. On top of it, he did do art for some kings and stuff, but then he dies in this year. And actually, this painting is from this book, which I have in front of me. Here's a photo of it.
Yeah.
But I think, as we were saying earlier, we're in an age of post-truth. It doesn't actually matter what the truth is.
Yeah.
People just want to follow their agenda or their bias.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, it's really comforting that there's a photo of Guru Nanak Dev Ji.
Yeah.
Because they feel closer or whatever, which is fine, which is great. We know within Sikh philosophy, images and stuff have a place and a position, but they're not the end all. More importantly, that's not a true photo.
No.
So I guess just trying to come back to what you were saying, which is all of society is actually having to deal with this age of post-truth, because it would have taken them 2 seconds to Google or Crawley Gurdwara sale or something.
Yeah. You know what it is? It's also actually a type of spiritual grooving. Because it's a Gurdwara, people have their faith shoved up.
Yeah.
And these people who use these, using the word mistruth is being polite.
Yep.
Just blatant lies. They're abusing their position of authority, standing in the community to get their own agenda.
Yeah.
And it's really sad. It tells you a lot about that person's integrity and the kind of person that person is, who wants to openly lie about Gurdwara being sold when it hasn't been sold, unless they bought it themselves as a secret or something.
Yeah, no. I just want to say thank you. We've been talking, I don't know for how long, probably close to 2 hours. It has been really interesting for my sake. I have to admit, when you first came with the idea, I was kind of I don't know what I'm getting myself into, if I'm honest with you. And I secondly was then am I getting too deep? But I think it's been absolute great laugh. I think I've discovered a lot about the Buddha that I had no idea about. And I think people listening will hopefully come away from this just understanding the way the Gurdwara functions more. As I said, I'm not here to convince them to vote for you or for anybody else. And considering how tight the constitution is, most people listening to this probably won't even be from Southall. Yes. So, yeah, I just want to say thank you to both of you. I see you all the time on my TikTok. Please carry on. It's absolutely incredible. Please don't look so pissed off, though. I sometimes want to be can I give him a hug? He's not so happy today. But look, I just think I've had a child in January. I've got a job, a wife, a family. I know how difficult and how busy life can become. I think it's as in, I can't take my hat off to you guys, but if I could, I would, because I just think the interest and the dedication that you guys are showing, the professionalism that you've been talking about, it's amazing to see. And I think if I can take any positive out of the mess that Gurdwara politics can become, is the fact that you guys have a vision, you are being involved, and it's not token, it's not lip service, it's not we're gonna have a woman in this in the committee for the sake of having women. It's actually purpose, bring what you can to the table and help us move forward as an institution. So good luck with the election. Hopefully you win. Or not, who knows? Whatever works, I'm sure it'll be fine.
We'll still continue to go see that.
Yeah. I guess that doesn't change anything, right? You'll still be going to the Gurdwara. And I guess the only thing I can say is hopefully this type of mudslinging and mess and nonsense that happens, we put our attention and focus on more important things. And then I would think that kind of the collective progress would be a lot better. But no, thank you, bro, so much.
Yeah, and I think a big thank you from our perspective as well. So I know Hadmeet is currently in the committee, but just being here as Sevadars of the Gurdwara, we have an understanding of the day-to-day running. And one of the biggest things was to try and highlight that. And it's great to see you've seen that. I've learned a little bit as well of the history that Hadmeet's mentioned. And you're right, his face is everywhere. He's been doing a lot all these years, and he can't stand in the committee anymore because there is that clause of he stood for so long General Secretary twice consecutively.
So you got to take a break, and then you could come back. You could after 1 year. So,
but the point is now we want to get the next generation ready. You can't keep saying people.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that
this is what
for that.
But that's what's really So as I said, I came into this completely blind. I don't know. I know of you. I don't really know you guys, right? And I have some experience of committees by virtue of being dragged to the committee meetings because of dad or whoever, right? Your answers have been complete opposite of what you were traditionally hear, but also it's exactly what you want to hear, which is rather than you being yep, can't wait for that year to be done so I can get back in. You're actually no, I've come to the end of my little journey. Actually, the whole point of moving this forward is let's get to the next person. And so, yeah. No.
And hopefully the users, not the users, what they're called, viewers, hopefully the viewers can find a bit of benefit as well.
Yeah, sure.
Understanding not just how a Gurdwara is run, but one of the biggest Gurdwaras.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot that goes on behind this.
And I didn't know. So, yeah. Thank you, guys. Oh, thank you very much.